Well, kicking off our Changemaker today, and as reported by Richard Rennie in this week's Farmers Weekly's New Thinking piece, following on our Opinion Maker theme last night around the industries that are grappling with labour shortages. The viticulture industry is certainly not immune. And of course, the rising costs of production as well has led to a bit of number 8 wire, an initiative of using lasers to deter birds to protect vines in central Otago. We're joined now by Viticulture's owner, Timbo Deaker. Timbo, welcome to Sarah's Country. It's wonderful to have you on. I actually want to say I know a thing or two about holes in nets because Father Bob gets me to go around and put them back together again from those pesky rabbits throwing themselves at them, making holes and letting birds in. So, I mean, nets are one thing, but what led you to lasers?
Well, firstly, thank you, Sarah, for inviting us onto your show. Great pleasure to be here. Look, we are calling this period of reduced access to labour essentially forced innovation. And it's really made us stop and pause and go, how do we deal with our labour crisis? And Sarah, you'll be greatly aware of Central Otago's history around lack of labour, and that relates to cost of living, and it relates to lack of accommodation. And horticulture has made a big footprint into Central Otago. And horticulture is actually, as you're probably grossly aware, a very labour-intensive usage of land. And the Cromwell Basin is a key example of a move from agriculture quite rapidly to horticulture, and that's not just grapes, that's cherries, that's obviously history of apricots and everything else. So we're competing for a fairly finite pool. Birds are a real pain for us. And look, these lasers that we're trialling out last year and now more rolling out across many more vineyards have probably been the best access to new technology that we've seen for a long time. I'm not saying that these are the silver bullet, but they are a great new tool in our tool bag. And if I was to give you a breakdown of our per hectare costs for farming grapes in Central Otago, 62% of our costs per hectare are associated with labour. And that's pretty damn high. And if I compare that to our friends up in Marlborough with their ultra premium Pinot that they farm there, they're around about 54% of their per hectare cost being labour. So in our business, we've looked at areas where we can try and find new technology to help us reduce labour, and bird nets and bird crop protection are a big key component of that. Now, about 8 to 10% of our per hectare costs are associated with bird nets. So these lasers are helping us to mitigate that 8 to 10%.
And of course, I mean, I tell you what, it gives you a hell of a fright when the gas-fired guns and shooting goes on, which is predominantly what I associate with bird protection. The lasers must offer a lot more of a quieter opportunity, especially with an urban sprawl in central as well.
Oh, Sarah, you've nailed it, to be fair. That is, residential encroachment is a major concern for us. And I think there's two very quick ways to kill a vineyard, and one of them is phylloxera and the other is residential encroachment. And we're trying to find a thing or some tools in our tool bag which are essentially environmentally friendly. And I say that in respect to our neighbours that live around the vineyards. Now, I live in a great valley called Gippsland, and I'm yet to meet a bad neighbour in Gippsland. We're a valley full of very good roosters, and we'll do anything we can to try and mitigate the pain that they go through by living next door to a vineyard.
I understand that the system has actually been used locally for other reasons in Oamaru.
Yeah, it was actually... I've got to tell you a funny story. We've got a client. He refers to himself as the oldest vintner in New Zealand. He's a 94-year-old. He was the one that we sat down and discussed new technology with. And I'm immensely proud. He's a 94-year-old who's still farming and still willing to try new things. And I just think that's awesome. So we trialled this on his vineyard last year, and we trialled another laser on another vineyard at the back of Lowburn. And our success on the vineyard in Lowburn last year was immense. And our success on his vineyard was very good. It actually still worked out, even with crop loss, that it was still cheaper for us not to have netted the vineyard versus the loss of crop that we got. It has, I do like his attitude, this guy Ewing Stevens, of go large, because what we've done in respect for a 3-hectare vineyard is actually brought now 3 of these lasers. And I walked those crops yesterday, and there's not one bit of damage in them. And look, that's stunning effort. Yeah, but I know that they've got applications for bird scaring around historic buildings in Oamaru, as well as grain solos and farms. And I suspect there's a bit of this usage around airports with bird strike. The airport thing and the planes coming in and over, our greatest concern with these is causing a laser strike on a plane. So we're being very super cautious around how we use them, particularly in areas where we've got flight paths.
And so therefore I understand, the way that the light patterns, they disturb the bird's flight path. So effectively it's sort of encouraging them to leave as opposed to, a smoking mess of feathers.
Well, you look, the day that they design a laser that can make a bird explode into flames, I'll be buying many, many of these things. But you'll find smarter people than me to be able to discuss their actual efficacy and how they work. But our understanding is that birds obviously see light in a different pattern to what we can, and they will see the full beam, whereas we will just see the laser dot at the end. And it's enough of a disturbance and enough to irritate their flight path that they just keep moving and moving and moving. Now, we referred to this as a tool in the tool bag. And look, we still use other bird deterrents when we've got the lasers. So we will still have an acoustic, a gas gun per se. We'll still have someone that will come in and with the shotgun and be patrolling, particularly at the morning and the afternoon. But it has so far afforded us a lot safer vineyard. Bird nets we're big fans of, but trying to work labour and machinery underneath them is quite problematic, especially on particularly steep vineyards. It has allowed us to have more access of tractors and labour through the vineyard at the end of the season, and it's opened up a lot more tools in the tool bag for us as well.
Fantastic. Timbo, next step, working on lasers for rabbit control?
That would be great. That would be superb. We're big fans of, particularly the peregrines that fly around Central Otago. And these lasers do have the ability, you can preload where you want them to be and what they're doing. And we've got this very interesting project we're doing at the moment where we're helping a TV production that's being filmed in Central Otago. And if you can think of McLeod's Daughter, that's essentially what's being filmed in Central Otago based around vineyards. And they're obviously acutely aware of the aesthetic of bird nets. So we're trialling these lasers on this TV show at the moment. And behind there, there's a whole nest of whole families of peregrine. And on this particular vineyard, we've managed to have the lasers so that we can avoid upsetting the peregrine that live behind the vineyard, avoid obviously having lasers affecting TV cameras, and also protect a good crop from and not needing it to be netted. So I'll let you know how that goes once we're finished filming.
Timbo, just like McLeod's Daughters, it sounds like it's not an exact portrayal of life on the land, but a romantic one, and that's what TV's all about.
Yeah, if they can make South Australia look pretty impressive with McLeod's daughter, I think we can make a lot better effort with Otago.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Timbo Deaker there, talking to us out of Central Otago and the technology of using lasers to keep pesky birds away. Now, I need to mention that it's been sourced from a New Zealand firm, Main Track Group in Westport, installed in 6 other vineyards across Otago. Just a bit of a shout out there to Main Track, because I can see there from what Timbo said, there's lots of different applications that may be used in, our crops here in mid-Canterbury, and horticulture as well, across the board. New Zealand, you'll know how we can apply that.
Oh, nice boots.
Yeah, thanks. They're new.
Ben, you alright?
Oh, yeah, sorry, mate. Just meerkatting pretty hard, eh? Yeah, I just said to myself, Ben, work hard. You deserve new boots.